2414 is a podcast about finding hope and common ground through casual conversation. Like the friends on the road in the New Testament, in Luke chapter 24, verse 14, we want to walk away with more understanding that leads to more conversation as the journey continues. Thanks for walking with us.
Welcome to 2414. Thank you, Rob and Aurea. And filling in for Shane Welter, we have Brenda Segovia today. Hey, Brenda.
Yep, hey.
Welcome, listening audience and viewing audience. If this is your first time or last time or third time here at 2414, we like to find common ground through shared conversation, just processing real life. And today we have the Grothes. Hey, Aurea. Aurea, I'm glad you're here.
I'm really glad I'm here too.
Yeah, love it. Rob, thank you for being here too.
You're welcome.
And Hayden's out in the car.
Yeah, we leave him there.
Oh yeah, I was going to ask, where is Hayden?
Grandparents.
Left a window open, bowl of water out. It's fine.
He'll be fine.
Yeah.
He's independent.
Today we're kind of wrapping up our Marriage is Messy mini-series, just processing real life and different marriage experiences. And I'm over here at the soundboard since Shane is gone, so I'm going to refrain from pushing too many buttons and knobs and levers so that he doesn't get mad at me. He'll maybe let me do this again. But today we're processing when two families come together from different backgrounds, which is usually the case in every single family, unless you have something inappropriate going on. But when two families merge together in marriage, you find some maybe predictable pitfalls or obstacles, and maybe some unforeseen. Oh, that's a thing. We didn't know that was going to be a thing. So looking forward to digging into how in your marriage you've seen that play out. Brenda, how you and Adam have seen that played out, and Charlotte and I can share how we've experienced some of that. But before that, just to get to know our guests and share a bit of real life highs and lows from, could be the week, could be from your morning, from the last hour, if that's all you can remember. Something encouraging, uplifting, kind of a win in your life, or maybe something frustrating or discouraging. And then our added question today is, what was your favorite dessert when you were a kid? Favorite childhood dessert. I want to give our guests a second to think so we can be nice. We'll start with Brenda.
I can go first because I already thought of my favorite dessert when I was a kid. That's an easy one. But my name is Brenda.
Hi, Brenda.
I'll start with highs and lows. My high this week was that I went to camp in Idaho. So I came back yesterday and it was beautiful. Got to hang out with people that are working at other churches. I got to go on this swing, like they put you in a harness and then people have to pull the rope to get you as high as you want to go. And then you release it and you swing over the water. So that was fun.
This isn't like, they're not like, you're not like jettisoning you off on the other side into the water. You're just swinging.
It doesn't go that far. You're just kind of like in the trees over the water. And then
Are you sitting or are you?
You're sitting, but you can kind of lean back so then you're dangling kind of like a spider.
A spider.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I did. I just kind of went back. And then you have to slow yourself down by grabbing a pool noodle. And by that point, you want to get off because the harness starts to hurt. So then it's not fun anymore. It's just uncomfortable. So then they pull a ladder back up. You stand on it, you unhook, you go down, and you switch with somebody else. So that was fun.
Did they have a name for this?
Just swing. Just swing.
Yeah.
Swing. Very creative. Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds fun.
My low was the drive here this morning. I would have been here 45 minutes ago had it not been for an accident. By the time I got to it, they were cleaning it up. So I didn't see what happened, but I made it 2 minutes before you guys. Yay. So I just barely beat you.
Drive safely, everyone out there.
Yes, drive safe. And my favorite dessert when I was a kid was carrot cake, and I still love it. We'd go to Hometown Buffet, and they had it there, and it had the cream cheese frosting, and then like they had the shape of a carrot with the icing on the cake, and that was my favorite. It's the best.
Do you have any memories associated with? So Hometown Buffet, you said?
Yeah. We'd go there and eat, and my dad would take advantage of it being an all-you-can-eat buffet. So we'd go through several courses, and then we're like, all right, it's time to get going. He's like, well, there's probably room in there for one more. Get up and get more. Wait another 10 minutes. All right, we should probably get going. He's like, yeah, but the Jell-O and those cookies over there. And what did you guys not eat? Like, bring it over here. Like, slide it down the table, and he'd finish it up. So
Just refilling the soft serve
Yeah.
ice cream. Let's just give it a few minutes.
yeah, get your money's worth. So
All right. Carrot cake.
carrot cake, and I still love it.
I didn't know that. All right. We'll go over to Rob. Rob, lows, highs, childhood favorite dessert. And Aurea, we'll see if you know it before he says it,
Ooh,
and then vice
yes.
versa.
Oh boy.
Okay.
Childhood favorite's a difficult
Yeah.
one.
Yeah. Make it think.
All right. I'll start with my high. And so I was on a very short work trip this Monday night and came back Tuesday. So about 24 hours total gone.
Anywhere fun?
Yeah, at Portland.
Okay.
So nothing too crazy. But the fact that when I came home after being gone less than 24 hours, just the amount of love that I felt from my son. He had missed me so much after 24 hours. He came running up and giving me a huge hug.
Oh, cute.
And it's just the that huge emotion after just a short amount of time. In my mind, to him, it must have been a lengthy time. So
That's awesome.
to feel the love coming from him after being gone, it feels good.
And how old is Hayden now?
He's 6 years old.
Is he more expressive to you guys right now vocally, or am I just as an outsider seeing him warming up to me? Because in the last maybe 2 months, I've seen a whole like bubblier side of him that I haven't experienced.
No, he's a talker. Okay. He loves talking and sharing everything he thinks. And I mean, he's been talking for a long time and likes to keep me hearing every da-da-da-da. And so, yeah, he loves to talk. So you'll get to hear more and more of him for sure.
That's a great high, Rob. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah. My low is when I got back from that trip, I went to my favorite restaurant, Taco Bell, and it's under construction.
I saw that. My kids went there last night with their aunt. Well, they tried to go there.
Right.
And then it was, oh no.
Oh.
That was my reaction, is that, I mean, it's only a few blocks from the house, and now I have to drive an extra 10 minutes to get to the nearest one. It's horrible.
I was going to ask, did you go to the other Taco
I
Bell?
did. I sure did.
That's what they did. They looked at their options like, at this point, we should just go to the other one.
Yeah. So, but that's a low, because I enjoy getting there and getting back in like all of 5 minutes.
Do you have a go-to order there? I know I always order the exact same thing when I go to Taco Bell.
Same
Or do you
here.
mix it up? Okay.
Nope.
Okay.
One order.
All right.
Bean burrito, 5-layer burrito. Good to go.
All right.
Hayden loves it there too. They both love that place.
Okay.
Yep.
They both love that place.
Not
that
Aurea.
seems
It's okay. I'm okay.
Yeah. And then favorite childhood dessert. I'm actually having a tough time remembering what my favorite childhood dessert is, but if I had to pick one, I would go for vanilla ice cream with toppings. We would have whatever we wanted as our topping to go on top of vanilla ice cream. So chocolate syrup, honey, peanut butter, graham crackers, whatever it was, you would pick the topping, and that's what we would do. So my real go-to was vanilla ice cream with chocolate syrup.
All right. Now, do you still enjoy that?
It's good. I haven't had it for a while, like quite a while, but I do like it. Yep.
I was going to go back to Brenda. Brenda, are you still a carrot cake fan? Or?
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's still a favorite dessert. But a lot of times now you see the raisins in it, and that's not my favorite. It doesn't need raisins or walnuts, just carrot cake.
Okay. All right. Cool. Thanks, Rob.
I've never seen one with raisins in it or walnuts.
That's good.
That's the way
glad.
you like it.
Yeah.
You're running in better circles. Than
Yeah,
me.
seriously.
So, Aurea, lows, highs. You can have more than one if you want. And favorite childhood dessert. Did you know that about Rob, by the way? Did you know vanilla ice cream with peanut butter and honey?
What would
and
you have
chocolate?
guessed? Maybe you know better than I do.
Molasses.
Oh, it was my mom's molasses cookies.
Okay.
So she's probably right, honestly.
No offense, Mom. Sorry. I put him on the spot.
She
Okay.
makes good molasses.
She sure does.
All right. So, extra credit for Aurea. For keeping score, we'll put one in her column.
This one.
My high is I got to hang out with my dad this morning. I drive him around to his doctor's appointments, but I'm really close to my parents. So especially my dad. But I got to hang out with him this morning, and I just love hanging out with both of them individually. Just love it. And then we picked up dim sum on the way home in Chinatown, and he worked in downtown Seattle for a long time. So he's got what we call the Seattle walk, and it's really, really fast.
Okay.
And so I'm running after my dad in Chinatown as he's walking, and it's like
He's on a mission.
yes, yes. And then they're so used to walking up and down hills that I'm like, I will park at the top of that hill. We're walking up that.
He always seems so low key to me when I see him. So
he's very chill.
To see him, I can't picture him scurrying like that.
Yes. So that's my high. And my low is this cough. So I get it every year. It lasts for 3 months. It's just allergies. And then it just goes away. But I can't sleep. It's bothersome. So it's been my low. And I'm like, okay, I'm on month 1. So I've got 2 months
Of
left.
3.
Of 3.
All right. Oh, I'm sorry for that. And if our listeners hear any coughs, we're going to have Shane edit them all out. So if you hear any on the recording, that's
Thanks, Shane.
Shane missed that one. So, and now Rob, your mom has a cough.
Yeah.
And so you're just surrounded by coughing women. That's just your life.
That's how it goes every year.
Every year.
Her too, every year. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, Aurea. Yeah. So I hope the next 2 months go quickly for that sake. But for the rest of us, I hope the 2 months go really slowly because they're the nice two.
Right? Yes. My favorite dessert as a child is a dessert in the Philippines called halo halo. If you translate it, it's mix. It's when you get everything out of your fridge and, it's poor country, third world. And so you get everything out of your fridge and you put it in, it's equivalent to a Hawaiian shaved ice, but not with like the flavored syrup. So you can add milk or like ube ice cream, which is like a purple yam kind of ice cream to it.
Halo halo?
Halo. It's life-changing.
Life-changing.
It's really good.
Now you said mix is how it's translated. Is it kind of different every time, like whatever you have on hand?
Yes, you can mix whatever you want with it, whatever you have on hand. Yeah. So sometimes you'll put like coconut in there or like ice cream. But yes, it's delicious.
You said it's like shaved ice, but not. Is that kind of the base?
Is shaved
it's kind
ice.
of so it's a shaved ice base.
So you ever had a weird mix of it that you're like, oh, that one wasn't so good?
Yeah. Traditionally, they like to put red beans in it. I don't like the red beans, so I'll take that out.
Red beans for dessert?
Red beans.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like the little Jellos.
Yeah, that's so good. Yeah. Hayden loves it too. It's really good.
So you brought it home here?
Oh, yeah. There's like
you.
a Filipino grocery store at South Center Mall, and so we will go and pick it up. I think you like it.
I do. Parts of it. I mean,
Yes.
mix. So certain parts.
Yep.
All right, Rob, would you have known? Hello.
Oh, honestly, probably not.
Would you have had any guess or?
No.
All right.
A kid. I mean,
Another one in Aurea column.
Yeah, for sure. Well, she's also not much of a dessert person in general.
Oh.
Like savory, sweet. She goes for the savory.
I mean, if you grew up with red beans in your dessert,
But I don't like that in my dessert. Nowadays, so it's not my favorite dessert. My favorite dessert is tiramisu.
Tiramisu.
Yes.
Okay.
Or like tres leches. Any cake that's like soaked in stuff. So like tres leches, tiramisu.
Yeah. Nice. All right.
Delicious.
For me, lows, highs. And I feel like a broken record. If you've been listening the last couple of weeks, my probably biggest low is I've not been getting into my running routine like I need to and want to. I'm a nicer person and a better husband and father and pastor when I'm active and burning calories, and I'm far less grumpy. So I think I was supposed to run 52 miles this week, and I maybe got in 7. So that's not ideal. So that's what I'm going to do after today. So when we're done here, I'm going to go pull weeds for a couple hours and then go romp around through the woods.
Where do you run?
Dash Point State Park here in kind of northeast Tacoma Federal Way border. So it's 400-acre park. It only has maybe 13 to 15 miles worth of unique trails it turns in on itself all over. But we live at northeast Tacoma, so I run down to the Browns Point, the water down there a lot. It's very hilly. So our neighborhood is called Pinnacle Point, which is just a fancy name for a neighborhood. But I realized after a couple weeks of living there that if your neighborhood is called Pinnacle Point, every run finishes uphill. So we live at the top of a hill. So I start downhill and I finish uphill every single time. So that's not ideal.
No, exact opposite of what I would have wanted.
So yeah, my low is not running. My high is Charlotte and I went out last night and went to Cheesecake Factory and split the biggest plate of nachos, and it was just overwhelmingly delicious. At one point, we're talking to the waitress about it, like, you've had the nachos, right? Like, these are amazing. And she's like, yes, I've had the nachos. But that was really, really fun. Just a great night out. Favorite dessert as a kid, I think kind of like Rob, the mystery and sort of luxury of an ice cream sundae, where it's just loaded all the toppings and sprinkles that they don't have any flavor, and some of them just like hurt your teeth even. Remember like the little like golden BB looking ones? Mm-hmm. If you had those, that they were just like really, really crunchy. There was no value. It just hurt. But all the sprinkles, whipped cream, cherry, chocolate syrup. I remember in grade school made a poster presentation. It was like you had to teach some skill, and mine was like how to make an ice cream sundae, and my parents had to take pictures of me like scooping the ice cream and here's how you spray the whipped cream, and it wasn't even good, but so I don't eat that a whole lot. I still eat ice cream. I do eat ice cream. I could eat it every night of the week, but my favorite dessert now is probably like a cheesecake. Which sadly,
standard cheesecake,
any
like
kind,
chocolate
like
cheesecake?
any cheesecake.
Okay.
We spent 20 minutes looking at the menu last night at Cheesecake Factory, and the first one I suggested was, "Ooh, they have a red velvet cheesecake." And Charlotte gave me a look that was like, "Why did you even say that?" But by the time we finished our nachos, we weren't up for the cheesecake, so it's kind of a
bummer.
Satisfying yet sad night. Like
You could take it to go.
I know we should. We should have
done that.
I have some regret about that. A little bit of remorse. So cool. Any lows and highs pop up in your head as we went around the horn? You missed your chance of, let me share that.
Nope.
Okay. Nope. Cool. Thanks for sharing. So fast. All right. So we're talking about marriage today, talking about when families blend together, and I'd love to some background. Rob, Aurea, how did you guys meet? Because you're from different places. We'll ask Rob first. Put him on the spot. How did you first meet Aurea, Rob?
Yeah, we met in high school. So
Okay.
we went to different junior highs, and then she came over to Federal Way High, the local high school here, and we had classes together.
We were friends in high school.
We eventually became friends. Yeah. And so we've known each other since our first year of high school. We did not date in high school, though. We were friends. I was definitely in the friend zone.
Aurea made that very clear.
Yeah, no, I mean, honestly, so I liked her. I made it known one time and said, I like you. And she said, okay. Yeah, but never give up. So
Yeah, the lesson today, kids at home, never give up.
that's right. So then, we were friends throughout all of high school. And then I left for the Air Force Academy in Colorado Springs for college. And right before I left, we talked a little bit about maybe we do like each other, like both of us.
You wore her out a little bit and wore her down.
And so then, I head off to the Air Force Academy. And as your freshman, you're not allowed to have a cell phone or have communication for your first year. At least back in 2002 when I went there, they weren't allowed to have a cell phone. They had phone rooms, though. They had old school pay phones where you used long distance calling cards to call back to Seattle. So every Saturday night for about 2 hours, I would call her until taps hit, and I had to run back to my room before I got in trouble for being out, and we would talk on the phone every weekend. So that was a whole year of that, and we made it official when I was back in visiting home for Christmas.
Official that you're dating.
The dating,
Okay.
correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then we started dating long distance for my whole time away in college. Come back for spring breaks and summertime, get to see each other. But other than that, it was all long distance for all those years. So 4 years long distance.
Wow.
Then,
It's a long time.
yeah. And then I got to come back here for grad school. I went to University of Washington for grad school right after I got out of college, and we got to actually be together, which was awesome. I lived at my parents. She lived at her parents, and which are very close to each other. We're only a few miles away, so we got to see each other every day, commute together up to college, and date not long distance for a change. So we had two years together there. before I got stationed in Florida.
Okay.
The Air Force asked, where do you want to go? And I said, anywhere on the West Coast, please, so I can be in the same time zone. So they sent me to Florida.
Florida, yeah.
Yeah.
Naturally.
And then at that point, we had another 3 years of long distance.
Wow.
Oh.
Yeah. So add up all the different times, and it was about, 9 years
9
of dating?
years. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We dated for 9 years.
I wonder if that is even gonna. So you've had these different rounds of getting to know each other, and I wonder if that's going to prepare you for like when you're empty nesters of like, all right, we've kind of reset our relationship several different times already of like starting over. Mm-hmm. Aurea, what was high school like for you with Rob as a friend? What did you guys do?
We hung out in the same group of friends. So his friends were my friends. And I don't know. I can't remember what we did. I was very busy in high school. We didn't hang out outside of school very much.
We spent a lot of time at school. We had lockers next to each other.
Yeah.
Like I knew her combo because she doesn't like numbers. So I'd open her locker for her.
What a guy. Did you get to pick lockers where they were, or were you assigned next to each other?
Well, because you were part of the student government. So you had your in to get us to pick lockers by each other.
Nice. Yeah.
Some
We did
executive
different
privilege.
things too in high school. So we didn't see each other very much outside of school. So we just a lot of hanging out in school. Yeah.
Did you know that you two lived nearby, that your family's homes were close by?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You did? Okay.
I went over to your house sometimes in high
Yep.
school, and you came over to my house once or
Yep.
twice. Yeah.
Yep.
So, Aurea, what was it like to have 2-hour conversations with somebody off at the Air Force Academy?
I think it was a lot of fun because you get to know somebody differently than you would. I was telling him, like, we talked more than we talk now. Mm-hmm. You know, when you think about that, you have a set amount of time that you're setting aside to talk to somebody, and especially if it's a phone, there's no interruptions. There's no I'm doing this at the same time, because you only have that opportunity to talk to that person. So it's uninterrupted, and it's 2 hours. And so you get to know a person really, really well. But we got to know each other, I think, as friends too in high school. So there's, I got to know him as that kind of person. And then outside of that, and when we were dating, it was just building on top of that. So it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. I love talking to Rob. I will talk Rob's ear off to this very day until he falls asleep on me.
We have a no talking after we brush our teeth rule at our house.
Wow. Yeah, no.
There is, yes. I feel really bad because he's the only introvert in the house. So
Everybody else loves talking.
everybody else loves talking.
But it's a good thing I like to listen.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yes.
So when Charlotte and I, we were friends for a couple years before we dated. So very similar in that sense of I was actually dating someone else at the time. So it wasn't even on the table. It was just friendship. And Brenda, you met Adam through trying to date someone.
Right. Through a dating app. So we definitely were not friends before. It was that intention of dating and messages first. So very different. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's interesting just to hear backgrounds of friends, one of whom maybe wanted more, one was content with that for a little bit, and then lots of time getting to know each other and very slowly kind of building into something more. Mm-hmm. Was there a kind of pivotal moment of, you know what, this is somebody I love, or there's a relationship here other than just a friend from high school?
I don't know.
I can't remember. It's so long ago. It's a long time ago. But part of the reason why we dated for so long, for 9 years, was because my original plan was to go to medical school. And so I wanted to go here at the UW. And he's in Florida, and so it's like, you can't have, you can't move around if this is where you want to go. And also my focus at the time was career. So my focus was not to settle down at all. So it was, I wanted to have a career. This is what I wanted to do with my life. And so I think I kind of drug my feet a little bit. And now like going back and like, if there was one regret I have in life, and I tell this to Rob all the time, I'm like, I would have married you sooner.
Oh,
Totally would have.
And it's funny because my standard response to that is, I'm glad we didn't. It would have changed our lives a lot because things worked out the way they did.
Yeah.
She's got an amazing career. She has the right people that she knew because she stayed here. And I also got to do things that would have been different if we had been married earlier. We probably would have had kids earlier. It happens when that happens. And so I'm actually pretty happy with the way it did. I mean, I get both sides. I would have loved to have been married earlier instead of doing long distance forever. But at the same time, I can look back and be like, yeah, we made the right choices. It worked out.
That's really beautiful.
do you feel like all that time that you spent long distance, so you can't see each other, you're talking on the phone, that's helped your communication now, since you had a lot of time to kind of figure out how do they communicate?
Yes and no. So Rob and I communicate. I like to tell people this. Rob and I are two sides of a coin. We are very opposite in everything we do. So the things he likes, I don't. It's almost like if I had to pick a menu or food, it would be the food that I don't like. That's how I pick what he would like. It just everything is opposite. And so I think because we know that we are so opposite in everything, we know that there's a lot of room for miscommunication. And so we over communicate because of that. So the running joke, or not joke, but we always say, we're so good at communication. So we're doing this today at this time, right?
Okay.
It just.
And to some, it might sound like, over communication at that point, because it's like, really? Why do you have to say that out loud? But sometimes it's good just to say it out loud. And if they already knew, they already knew. So it's great. If not, then you're like, okay, good thing I said that. Because now we're not assuming the person already had it figured out. That's right.
So it's very clear. It's very, I'm looking at the whites of your eyes and this is what we're doing, right?
And to clarify, how long have you been married?
Now we've been married almost 11 years.
Okay.
We're at like
going
10
on
and
11.
a half. Yeah, going on 11.
Mm-hmm.
So a decade in, Brenda, they're still checking assumptions and
Big time.
Oh yeah.
Big time.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. And another part of, did we learn to communicate, and has it helped us now? The good and the bad of it is that, like Aurea was saying earlier, is we had a lot of time to focus on each other. Like I would spend, in the phone room, or after I finally did get a cell phone, it would be in the stairwell, so we'd have some privacy. And so it would be very focused time to talk. And life changes, and then you're married, and then you have kids, and then you never have focused time to talk anymore without interruption.
Right.
It's very different now, when you have to find the hour if you're lucky, or 5 minutes if you're more often.
And there weren't smartphones as a distracting tool then. It was just there wasn't an immediate source of worldwide entertainment always there.
Yeah.
Kind of tempting. Cool. Well, I want to dig into the fact that you guys come from different families. Like I say, is usually typical in most marriages. But as you come from different families, where has that created either some friction or fun, or maybe were there any early conversations or moments of oh wow, we were raised differently, or we've thought about this differently. I don't know, maybe even just not necessarily diet, but at mealtime, or as you're out socially, or where have you come into areas in your relationship where you realize I grew up with a very different expectations or experiences of this?
Yeah. I would say maybe a somewhat funny story from the beginning was when I wanted to ask her to marry me. I wanted to be pretty traditional, ask her parents, take them out to dinner, make sure that I got their blessing first before I asked her. And one of their questions to me was, do you know we're Filipino? Yes, I do know. I have, been dating your.
Yes.
We've been dating.
We've been dating for 9 years or 8 years or whatever at that point, and it's yes, I know. But it's understanding kind of the background behind that is because we have such entirely different cultures, warm culture, cold culture, and they wanted to make sure that I had thought through that. And maybe as a white man who's grown up in the United States, that isn't necessarily something I truly thought all the way through at the time.
Of Germanic background, is that right?
Yes, right.
Just for people listening, Rob is white from a German Lutheran background.
That's right.
Aurea is Filipino.
Born in Texas, grew up in Washington. So, that's my background. And I would say I didn't really entirely know what it means to be from different cultures, because growing up in high school, we had lots of different cultures in high school, and I didn't pay attention to it because I have that kind of white privilege, I guess you can say, is that I didn't have to think about it, and didn't even cross my mind a lot of the times about what culture or not, or what I wasn't noticing. And so that question was funny at the time, but it also had a lot underneath it to think through, like, oh yeah, we did grow up differently, and there are other pieces and parts of our background that are quite extensively different.
Yeah. Aurea, what do you think Dad had in mind when he asked that? Do you know we're Filipino?
It's that. I think Rob described it perfectly. I think it's there in Filipino culture, or like what Rob was talking about, warm culture, cold culture. In warm cultures, it's extremely inclusive.
And warm is not just climate.
Yeah.
What do you mean by warm culture, cold culture?
Climate's one of them. Okay. Also, like warm cultures tend to be a little bit more agricultural. So they, by history, they rely more on each other rather than the industrialized nations that have technology, and they can be a little bit more task-oriented and focus more on efficiency and tasks. Whereas warm culture, this is sweeping generalizations, but tend to be more about relationships. And so I think a lot of that was in warm culture, it was, you're just not marrying Aurea, you're marrying her whole family, because it's a culture of inclusivity. And so you don't call your mother-in-law your mother-in-law in my culture. You call them your mother. I call Jan my mom. I don't, or when I introduce Jan to people, I don't say, this is my mother-in-law. It sounds weird to say that to me. And so I introduce her as, this is my mom. And people are like, are you adopted? What is this? But in my culture, when two families are blended together, they become one family to the very, meaning and essence of what family means. And so when you ask me who my family is, it's not Rob and Hayden, it's Jan and Robert and my parents and my sister. And so it involves everybody. And so I think my parents were asking, are you prepared to just not marry one individual? You're marrying a group, because and that's the other thing. It's not an individualist kind of culture either. It's every decision you make has to do with thinking about how this affects the group.
Yeah, that sounds strange to Americans in general,
yes.
Western Washington specific.
So you don't think about, and that's why a lot of the decisions you make about career is not, what am I very good at, right? Like what will make me happy, but it's what will yield the best future for my posterity. What career will have it so that I can pay for Hayden's college education and then Hayden's children. So it's very inclusive to that extent, where I'm like, Hayden's 6. Why am I thinking about Hayden's children? But that's how far they think. Everything is very inclusive. And so that also means conversations. So there's no privacy. Every conversation is either, like that's the other difference that we talk about. There are private conversations in Rob's culture. There are no private conversations in my culture. So whatever conversations you're having, everybody is part of it, can be part of it.
Everyone can have input
yes.
to that. Okay.
Yep.
Yes.
And very publicly,
okay.
Right?
Very publicly. Yes. So everyone, everyone's opinions on things. Yeah.
And that's acceptable and expected that they're going to share their opinions on everything. Yeah.
But the expectation too is that then I would make decisions based on the group and not, I put together everyone's opinions and then we discuss everyone's opinions and then we make decisions based on everyone's opinions.
Yeah. And if let me see if I'm hearing this right. So kind of warm and cold culture. These are newer words and categories to me. I think I have experience that I can kind of put these in. But warm, you said, is related to sort of a warmer climate at times and agricultural, but also that relational warmth.
Yes.
But cold doesn't necessarily mean negative or bad. It's just a more individual, private,
Efficiency.
Yeah.
You mean what you say what you mean.
Yep. No beating around the bush.
Nope.
It's very direct.
Yes.
Brenda, what was your upbringing? More of one or the other?
Well, I was going to say, just hearing that, Adam had a very similar conversation with my dad when he asked him for my hand. And I wasn't there for the conversation, but I've heard from both of them. And my dad asked him, he said, does your family know that we are Mexican? And are they okay with you marrying her and having her be part of the family? And I think Adam answered something along the lines of, well, my sister married a man that is from Nigeria, so it is already a mixed family, so this is fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, there were definitely differences between the family, and even something as simple as meal times. I've noticed that his family is, you're kind of on different schedules and eat what's in the fridge, grab whatever. Somebody's at the table, somebody's in the living room watching TV. And our meal times are sometimes hours long because it's not just the eating, it's the conversation. So you're there for a long time. You're in no rush.
Yes.
Same if you go to a restaurant, you're there for a long time. You're not in a rush to go. Whereas I've noticed even now, Adam, as soon as we're done, he's like, all right, you ready to go? I'm like, I had like one more bite. I was going to take another sip of water. I wasn't ready yet. Are we going somewhere?
Yes. It's the relationship. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, and food is definitely very important in Aurea's culture. I can't go to their house without being offered food, like ever. There's always an offer of food and multiple offers of food. And it is not just like something out of the fridge. It is, they're going to make me something, or they already did make me something and they're trying to hand it to me. It's very...
Even if you're full, it's like, oh no, eat a little bit more. I know that's how we are. Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. And maybe another funny story is, even with my sister and nephews and brother-in-law, they come up from Texas, or now they're in New Mexico. They come visit, and Aurea's family will cook for them. And so, like she was saying, when you marry into the family, it's the whole family, and they consider them part of the family, and will make them good food and make sure that everyone gets to share it. And so, very inclusive.
They have their pictures on their fridge.
That's true.
Like,
yeah.
And it's Rob's sister, and their card is on the fridge, and they don't have a lot of pictures on their fridge, but they're considered family because of Rob. So
that's awesome. So we've been talking a fair amount about Aurea's warm culture, Filipino background, and how Rob has been brought into that. Aurea, what has been maybe easiest or most welcome or most appreciated for you about Rob's culture and background? What parts of Jan and Robert's life or his upbringing, like, oh wow, that's alien to my experience, but I really appreciate that.
I think it's the efficiency of it. But interestingly, Robert, who's from San Angelo, acts
Texas.
more like a warm culture kind of person. When we were talking about that, we're like, that makes so much sense because he grew up kind of in that,
on the farm,
like the south,
of,
yep.
yeah.
I think of him as taking time for conversation.
Yes,
sure. Mm-hmm.
Yes. He will sit with you and he will chat with you. But what I love about it is that it is entirely different from me. And I love, one of the reasons why I married Rob was because he's not my culture. Like, I love that, I tend to be drawn to different people that are opposite from me, that are challenging. And so his family is just, there's no beating around the bush in that sense, or like in warm culture, you have to have kind of like a messenger. You go tell how you're feeling so that they can go tell the other person, because it's relational. So you don't want to be, it's not direct. So everything is kind of roundabout. And I like the directness in Rob's family, that they say what they mean, and there's not a lot of beating around the bush.
Yeah. So what about the other side, Rob, as you've been, as your family's joined with Aurea's family, a Filipino culture, what have there been any difficult things or challenging things of, man, even 11 years in, this is still hard for me or not quite intuitive?
There are a few. I guess maybe one that I could talk about, which is interesting, is raising a child. So we had Hayden, and in Aurea's family, it takes a village. Everybody works together to raise a child. And I mean, I definitely appreciate that now that I've experienced it. But at the very beginning, like the first week, it's different expectations of how you raise a baby. Her parents weren't very happy with the idea of letting him cry at all. Like, take care of him. He's your baby. You got to take care of him. If you want him to cry, bring him over. We'll take care of him because we're not going to let him do that. And so it was very hands-on parenting advice and thoughts on how to raise.
Which maybe felt like you were being, I don't know, like undercut, or like that they...
Right.
I mean, didn't trust you to do it
in your sleep deprived state. You're like, I got this.
First week with a baby.
Yeah. I don't need help. And then like the second week, third week, you're like, yeah, sure. I'll take the help. And then maybe more specifically about, like sleeping arrangements. And in warm culture, you sleep together. Like there is no like separate rooms, cry it out, stick them in the crib, wait for
it's the inclusivity.
Wait for them to go to bed.
Yeah.
You can't leave anyone by themselves.
Yeah.
It's you snuggle with them until they fall asleep. The babies, you snuggle together until they fall asleep, and you make sure that they're safe. And you wouldn't want them to be left alone and fearful and things like that. And so that was a big switch. 5.5 years ago, when we decided that we would have Hayden sleep together with us as part of
he sleeps in our bed.
Okay.
And 5.5 years later, now it's kind of switched where I can't let him go. I'm like, I don't want him to leave and sleep in his own room. It's probably time for him to move on, but no, I don't want him to leave. So it definitely was something to get used to at the very beginning, and then kind of appreciate the differences. And now I'm kind of latched onto it.
That's cool. Aurea, what about you? What's been difficult from, and whether it's warm culture, cold culture, or just this husband of yours of 11 years who came from a different family from your own, have there been either like recurring points of, oh man, we're still kind of stumbling over this, or what are some of the hard things about the fact that you married somebody who's different than you? I know you appreciate differences, but it's still hard at times.
I think it's the privacy, like his family's very private, so you have to dig and ask, and they'll tell you, but you have to ask, and so it's not openly shared. Like you get everybody sitting in a room, and a lot of it is, well, how's work, or how are you doing? But it's not. It takes a while, and I don't know if this is culturally or just your family, but it takes a while for them to warm up. Whereas instantaneously in my family, people are asking you how much you make. Like you're at our dinner table and everybody knows. And you're just like, whoa, that's a private number. And, in my culture, it's like, what do you mean that's not a private number? But so I think it's that. It's that it just takes a little bit longer to have those types of deep conversations.
So do you feel like it took a little bit longer to get to know Rob's family than maybe for you to get to know Aurea's family?
I think yes, in the sense that I had to figure out ways to ask.
Okay.
So I feel like because of the way that I was raised, I wasn't raised with knowing the right questions to ask to get people to open up, because in my culture, they naturally do. So you kind of lose that skill of how are you doing? And then you expect someone to tell you their life story. And that's something that we still kind of talk about today. We actually see a counselor or a Gottman therapist. So I know you've talked about John Gottman.
Yeah, big fan.
So he has what we call the Gottman Institute. And so we are guinea pigs in this institute about their marriage counseling attempts or methods. So we meet with a counselor. We've been doing this for about a year now. And that's one of the things that I struggle with, is asking follow-up questions with Rob. Like, how are you doing? And he's like, I'm doing okay, or it was a bad day at work. I expect him to tell me all about that bad day at work, because
just on his own.
On his own, because that's how you, yes, you tell me all about it.
And then my take is, well, you never asked how my day was.
Yes.
Yeah.
maybe if you wanted to know, you would ask. And she's like, well, why wouldn't you just tell me? Because like, don't you want to share what's going on in your life? So that's definitely a recurring theme in our counseling is me learning how to share more. Cause like we were talking earlier, private, my family is private. And we're more like, I don't know, crock pots, or you got to be like sitting next to each other for 2 or 3 or 5 hours to
for things to bubble up.
Let things bubble up, actually start talking about real things. I mean, you could go and sit next to each other, watch an entire baseball game and get to some good conversation by the end of the baseball game. But that's 3 hours. So, and that's being pretty quiet for most of it and patient. It's not full of conversation. And so that's another difference we have is
that kills me. I cannot.
Yeah. That much waiting for anything is difficult. And so, it's definitely for me to learn to talk more and more openly. And also then the opposite side, of course, is the more patient and waiting for that talking to come out. So
and it sounds like asking questions to help that as well. Yeah.
To drag it out of me. Yes.
Charlotte and I had a very similar conversation last night she's like, why don't you tell me? I'm like, why don't you ask?
Yes.
You should ask if you care. You should tell me if you know.
Yes.
And so
when my parents ask me, how's it going? That's it. That's all it takes. And then it's
permission to share anything. And
that all comes out. Yep.
I'm curious what kind of family activities you guys grew up with or still do when you visit each other's families, like maybe baseball watching, like kind of sports, more relaxed, maybe.
My family just likes to hang out and talk.
Okay.
So when we go and what's that?
And eat.
Okay. So a lot of food.
That's a given.
There's always food. Yeah. There's always food. And we'll just hang out and eat and then talk about, and then argue openly. That's the other thing that I think Rob had to get used to as well. Just the openness of everybody just sharing their feelings, and it's messy, but family is a safe place to disagree. So
some families are, and some
families, yes,
not
it
as
all
much.
comes out. And then 2 seconds later you're fine, but a lot of eating and a lot of talking.
Yeah. I mean, I would say that when I brought up the eating part, because it's not just like eat the food, it's the prep and the hang out and the cook it and make it and multi-hour event. It's not quick, like eat the fast food like Taco Bell or anything. It's to spend the time to make some real food and then share it. And it's a feast. I mean, it's always a feast when you have a Filipino meal. It's not a dish, it's 17 dishes and then tons of leftovers to share with everybody, the whole family being everybody. And so, that's probably the big event that we do with your family.
Even people that aren't there.
Yeah.
Then they'll package it up and go
they
drive
get some of that too.
Yeah. They go drive it to their sister's house and feed them.
Yeah. So you two have the probably blessings and curses, a little bit of both, but both of your family live in town.
Yes.
Both of your sets of parents. So are there challenges around the holidays or just time with grandson? You have multiple parents you could ask for help, but maybe multiple expectations of having to be somewhere. I've never had family in the same state as me. Like literally our entire marriage life, we've never had family in the same state. And so I don't know what that would be like to have both sets of parents blocks away from each other.
Oh, it's a huge blessing for sure. But at the same time, it was a conscious choice of ours to make that happen. I mean, Federal, depending on who you talk to, might not be the prime city that everyone wants to live in, but at the same time, it's home for us. We've grown up here, we love it here, and our families are here. And so we made sure that we would live here and find a house as close to our parents as possible. When we bought a house, that was the number one thing we were looking for, is where could we live, where we're near parents. And then, I mean, now that we are here, and the blessing of having both sets of parents here, because they're both very willing to help out with childcare and 4 days a week, Hayden is with Aurea's parents, and then 1 day a week, Hayden's with my parents while we're at work. And so we both get to work because of that. So it's definitely been a blessing.
Do you double up on every holiday? Do you alternate holidays? Do you do all holidays together?
So my family has always celebrated Christmas on Christmas Eve.
Okay.
And then so we do Christmas Eve with my family, and then Christmas Day with Rob's family. And then Thanksgiving, they come over to our
Everybody
house and we
together.
host. Yep.
So it's been a split, but
I think we did it that way when we were dating, because it was like, how am I going to spend Christmas with my family and then with your family? when we were just newly married too, without Hayden. So we didn't change much
Nope. Yeah, because we started that back when I was dating. Because even when I was in college and I would fly home for the holidays, we had to figure out a way to split it up, and so I could see both my family and her. So, we've been
presents on both on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day.
Yes,
Yep.
yeah,
All right.
yeah. Stay up until midnight and sing Carol.
12 days.
12 Days of Christmas right before midnight strikes on Christmas Eve with her family, and open up all the presents.
Well, that'd be a hard tradition for me.
And then
That staying up to midnight is hard, and singing 12 Days of Christmas.
My mom can't
is
do it,
not-
but she does it.
Yep, once a year she'll do it.
Once a year she'll do it.
And then, wake up the next morning to get to church, and then hang out with my family for Christmas Day and have another meal and open presents there as well.
That's awesome. Brenda, what about, do you guys have Christmas solved yet? You've had one Christmas together?
Yeah,
two?
yeah. And I mean, even dating. So we don't live in the same state as our families. My family's in California. Adam's is in Wisconsin. But even if they did all live near us, we would do the same thing. My family also celebrates Christmas Eve. Same thing, stay up till midnight. And that's when you're allowed to open presents. So we'd never had opening presents on Christmas Day. So if they were all in the same town, we would do Christmas Eve with my family and then Christmas Day with his. So that would be, that'd be the biggest holiday. My family doesn't really do Thanksgiving, so it's been easy to go to his every Thanksgiving, celebrate with them.
We make our kids wait till after church on Christmas before we do presents.
Wow.
Because I'm here all of Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
And then it's a quick turnaround. And so they'll do stockings Christmas morning and then presents after church, which usually means after lunch.
Yeah.
So
See, I think Adam did, I think
tough.
they do stockings on Christmas Eve and then the rest of their gifts on Christmas Day. Yeah.
that's fascinating. Rob, I don't know if it seems like to me that both of you are very good at listening and better at communicating than I am naturally. It's work for me to try to be a good listener and communicator. And so you might do this so intuitively that it's hard for you to step back and diagnose, but what have you found helpful? Do you have strategies or kind of diagnostic questions? So Brenda and Ab been married for a year.
Just
now.
under 2 years.
Just
Yeah.
under 2 years. We've got people listening who are engaged, who are dating. Maybe they've been married for a while and they're going, you know what? Maybe some of what we're experiencing is because of the fact that we come from different places. Or if somebody's about to get married, are there questions that you would encourage them to ask each other to get to the heart of some of the things that could be frustrating or could be really helpful? Does that make any sense what I'm asking? Mm-hmm. How would you help somebody else process and navigate the blending of two families? What should they ask or what could they do that would give them some traction to make ground?
My big thing, I think, is to spend more time with the other person's family. I think experience is the best teacher. And so for me, it was hard for Rob to explain like how his family worked unless like I saw it and I was there. And so because I love family, I'm around, I don't mind spending all day with his family. He's just like, okay, I finished eating my Easter meal. I'm ready to go home, and I'll sit with Jan and Robert at the dinner table and chat for however long they're willing to chat. But I think that's a big one, is to spend a lot of time with each other's families, even one-on-one. So that was another thing. I spent a lot of one-on-one time with Jan and Robert when Rob was away sometimes. So I'd go over there, and because we were engaged, and so it wasn't Rob's family anymore, right? So it was
already your family.
It was my family. Mm-hmm. So I would go over there and hang out and talk to Jan and, yeah, get to know her without Rob. Yeah.
Maybe my thought would be to ask the questions about family of origin. Sometimes you don't think about talking about, what did you do when you were a child? Like, now that we have Hayden, think a lot about, like, what were you like when you were 6? Or what was I like when I was 6? And so Aurea will ask me, like, did you ever do this? And I was like, I don't know. Let's go ask my mom, because I don't remember being 6. So I think that's important, is to talk about what was your life like when you were a kid growing up, like really, really little. And then kind of through anything earlier than what you experienced. So for us, anything before high school, to talk and ask those questions and actually sit back and listen to the answers and process. Anytime something isn't like at the same as you, there's probably a lot of questions that go unasked. So it's important just to ask them.
So when you say family of origin questions, is I heard you say kind of childhood experiences, but is that things like, how did your parents argue, or how did you do conflict resolution? What are some other questions, I guess? Do you have, even if it's obvious to you, it's not obvious to me.
Yeah.
Or maybe some people listening.
How were you raised with money? What is your viewpoint on money?
How do you raise a child?
How do you raise a child?
Like discipline or sleeping.
Yes.
We heard sleeping earlier.
How does your family feel about discipline? Lots of things. I just can't.
It seems so obvious, but
Yes. Thoughts on elderly, like what's going to happen, when Rob's parents get old, right? Like I don't believe in nursing homes for Jan and Robert. So I just can't. Those are my parents.
Yeah.
And so those are the conversations that we're having, especially like culturally too. That's big. What do you do with your aging parents? What do you do with your children, or what kind of relationships do you want your children to have with your parents?
Yeah. And maybe not just about having the children and raising the children, but also the futures of the children. Do you kick them out when they're 18, which in some families that's normal, and in other families it's not. And so
we've got a countdown at our house.
Yeah.
So that's a story for another day.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I mean, I grew up and my parents didn't kick me out. I mean, when I came back after the Air Force Academy for grad school, they let me live with them for another 2 years, and I was in grad school. But different families are different, and so asking those questions are: would you expect our child to leave right away, or is it okay for them to live with us for whenever? That's important.
Or how do you feel about parental input on how you raise your child, right? That's a big one too. Some people are like, this is my life now. This is how I'm doing it. And so we both accept influence from both sets of parents.
Do you still get a lot of it, like in regards to Hayden? I know you got a lot when Hayden was a newborn, so a baby, but now he's 6, a few years in. Do you still get a lot of input from either families?
I would say no.
Yeah, not as much anymore. Both sets are we've settled into a routine where everybody has their own way. Like I said, him being at Aurea's parents' house for 4 days a week, that they've got their routine, their rules, and my mom's got her rules on Fridays, and we have our rules at our house, and everybody's pretty good with that now. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's fun hearing these different expectations of input. So remind me, when we lived in Omaha, our house, the neighborhood had a playground. It was probably a half mile away, down a couple hills, around a couple turns, and there was this very predictable distance between the grown-up and the child, depending on who the grown-up was. So if it was Charlotte's parents, the adult was, within 18 inches of the kid. And if it was Charlotte, it was, 10 feet. If it was my parents, it was maybe 50 feet. And if it was me, it's like, as long as I can see them. Or like, okay, I can't see them, but I could hear them if they were crying right now. So just kind of, and then, so when we would get together, it made it more complicated. So sometimes my kids would run ahead. Sometimes they'd fall behind. They just kind of lag. And I learned for me that I just got to keep going, give them a little lead, and they'll catch up. And they didn't walk at an even pace. They'd run or walk, but we'd get there at the same time. And yet Charlotte's parents, their style of being much closer, whenever the kid would slow down, they would slow down. So the kid would just slow down more. And so then they would slow down more. And pretty soon I look behind me and everyone's just stopped. Like if we're spread out a half a mile, nobody's moving. And I'm like, he won't move until you move. Yeah. So anyway, those were, it's fun to laugh now, but really frustrating at the time of like, let me parent the way I want to parent, because we didn't have that expectation or that conversation about how do we want to handle this and how do we want to receive or guide our parents' input.
The difference, though, too, is that I've grown up here most of my life. So then there's parts that I feel like are halfway down the middle that I've adopted that I like from a different culture. So you get the best of both worlds. You get to pick and choose what you like and then put them together and then use that to kind of live your life. Like Rob's thing is time. That's always like,
being on time.
Yes.
On time.
In
Yep.
cold
Yes, or a little
culture,
early.
time is, and then versus warm culture time where it's non-existent.
Yep. I live by the clock,
Yes.
be early and then check the clock afterwards and be like, all right, time's up and
Yes.
let's go. And
Doesn't exist. But now that, he's very much on time, I'm slowly kind of like appreciating I like the time because that I can plan my time and do this today and do this versus, sometimes when my parents or family plan something, your whole day is gone because there is no start and end time.
And it's not like one is bad, like people versus
Right.
time. Like they both
Nope.
have good
Yeah.
and pros and cons.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Or like inclusion, like how much you include people and how much you don't. There's a funny story. We're celebrating my mom's birthday. It was my mom's birthday. And we had made like a feast, and we had, at the same time that my mom was having a birthday, they had a plumber working on their bathroom. So then we called the plumber over to share a meal with us.
Yes.
In the middle of and Rob was like, he's the plumber.
yeah, right. He's getting paid to finish the
Getting
job.
paid to finish the job. Why don't you hurry up and get him to finish it? And I was like, but we got to feed the guy. He's in our house. Yes. And then the funny flip thing is that he takes on some of those things without thinking about it. So Christmas Eve, was that? We were cooking and it was 10 o'clock at night.
Right, because we have our late meal before midnight when we open our presents. So Christmas
Christmas,
Eve meal is late.
Yeah. We're cooking in the garage because we're frying things and I don't like the smell of fried oil in the house. So we're in the garage, propane camp stove, and the UPS truck driver comes on Christmas Eve and he's delivering things. And so Rob goes out there with a plate of food and takes it out and I'm going, yes,
That's awesome.
we feed him. And I said, if my parents were out here, they would have invited him to come in.
That's
And
next
just-
level.
Yeah, right.
And like
step
that's normal. Get him to come in here. It'll only take 10 minutes. Nobody will know.
And then the next day when you were on time for church, Rob was like, yes, she's getting it.
One step at a time.
I've learned strategies. It's like when to start your day, when to get ready. And you got to start a little early so that you're on time by the time everything happens. Yeah.
That's awesome. I got a couple last things here. I don't know, Brenda, if you have anything, I don't want to cut you off, but you two are really kind and loving, and that's awesome. I also want to acknowledge you're real people. So people listening at home or driving or going for a walk right now, I guess I would hate for a listener to go, oh, well, it sounds really easy for Rob and Aurea. It's too bad we're not as good as them. Has it been frustrating for you at times? I don't need to make anything I'm not trying to dig anything up, but you're real people, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. I like to debate, and he hates it. So arguing is fun for me. And it exhausts you.
Exhausting for me.
Yes.
But it's like a sport for her. So
Same.
I did
I'm
speech
with
and
you.
debate
I'm
in
with you,
high
Rob.
school.
Nope.
So yes, which is why a lot of my friends are people that are opposite, because it's engaging and it's so much fun to have these conversations. So when we have fights or when we argue, it is an argument. It's a debate. These are the facts. These are the,
Does volume go up during these or still kind of?
Yeah.
yeah, it does.
Okay. Yep.
Oh, for sure.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. And she's so good at arguing that either side, it doesn't matter. She can pick a side, and if I have a side, she can pick the other side and still do
fun.
it.
That's Aurea. That's my family too. One of Charlotte's first time visiting. She's like, "You guys are all arguing, and none of you even care about the thing.
Yes.
Like, it doesn't matter.
just fun.
I just happen to land on this side. You're on that side, and so we're gonna spend 3 hours." And
Yes.
my middle son is the same way, and it drives Charlotte crazy that he just likes to argue. And if Charlotte agrees with him, fine, you're right. He'll switch sides.
Yes.
And
Yep.
it drives her up
Yes.
the wall.
I have never seen that. Like, oh, you agree with me? I just want to switch to the other side so we can
Yes.
have the conversation.
That's me.
And Aurea's like, yeah,
Yes.
of course.
Yes.
Let's keep it going.
I need some sort of like mental, or I say like, what are your thoughts on this? And then he knows my stance on it. And then I'll argue about it with him. Or like he comes home and tells me he's had a terrible day and this is why. It's not good for me, but I tend to be the devil's advocate. So instead of being a sounding board for empathy and support, sometimes I tend to go, well, maybe your employee was feeling this way, or you as a manager, what about doing it this way next time? And so I get it. It's so exhausting. Yeah.
That does sound exciting. I told that to Charlotte just last night. I said, sometimes when I'm frustrated, you take the other person's side. I want you to be on my side sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you talk about, do we have it all together? And Aurea mentioned it briefly, but we do see a therapist like pretty much weekly, every other week to
That's awesome.
check in with each other, learn new strategies, learn like how to be empathetic, or maybe like sit back and be quiet and just listen, or ask the engaging questions, or for me to share feelings, like get a feeling wheel out and actually learn that I have them. At one point I was asked to track down 3 feelings I had a day. And it's like, 3 in a day? I'm not sure if I have 3 full feelings in one day.
Hungry, angry, and hungry.
Yeah. Does that count?
And it can't be the same thing every day. Yeah.
Right. So it's, we're definitely still learning and lots to grow.
Thank you for sharing. Do you have a resource, like a favorite, if we're recommending one resource to newlyweds or people who just want to improve their marriage, or maybe they're going through a tough time? Is there a book you've read or
The ones we've talked about, there's the 5 love languages, right? But a lot of people don't know there's the 5 apology languages. And we've talked about that too, because of, when you repair something, what works for the other person as a form of repair. And so my apology language is, to fix the situation. So saying sorry to me isn't gonna do it, or remorse or something. There were 5 of them, but mine was, I want you to fix it.
I am so intrigued by this. I have not heard of apology languages. Okay.
Yeah, same guy that wrote it.
Chapman?
Yes. So it's the 5 apology languages. And then they also do like love languages for kids too. But yeah, they have that. But we talk about that all the time. His is expressing remorse.
Yes.
Do you know what the 5 are? Like, do you remember them all?
I couldn't name all 5 right now. We have our each, and then
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. So like we talk about this all the time and say, so if you broke a plate or something that was important is something that I found really important for him, it would be enough to say, I'm so sorry. I don't know what I was thinking. I'm very sorry. I want you to get me a new plate.
Yeah, fix it.
Fix it,
Make
please.
it right.
Hey,
Yeah.
Make it right.
And Rob's over there going, I'm a poor, miserable sinner in thought, word, and deed.
But I think like that's important to know too. And I think we've got that down pretty good.
Yeah, definitely. That helped.
That helped
Because
a lot.
otherwise, like she was saying, for me, remorse, saying sorry is enough, like being truly sorry about what you did. But when I reacted that way towards something I did wrong towards her and it didn't work, it's like, this isn't helping the situation. Why not? Like, I'm saying sorry. What else could I do? And it's, because you actually need an act of fixing it to feel the remorse or the sorriness. So yeah, definitely learned that one.
For you both, is it the same, like the way you give the apology and the same that you want to receive it that same way? Like, is a word apology enough for you, Rob?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. I tend to fix too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
This is so encouraging. I don't know how it feels to you. I've been married 17-ish years. We come from culturally very similar backgrounds, but family dynamics very, very different, and how we parent and have meals. And my family argues about everything. Charlotte's family wants consensus but doesn't want to hurt anybody's feelings. Mm-hmm. So we'll talk about it, but I don't want to suggest something because I don't want to steamroll somebody else who might have a real thought. So maybe let's all, we'll close our eyes and vote, but then, then who's going to count? Because they can't vote.
Yes.
And so, we'll write it down. We'll have secret ballots and I'm like, let's just pick. We'll just pick and we'll just go. And we don't have to make this a thing. And so it's work, and yet it's one of the things I've really heard from both of you guys today is just the fulfillment in going through that. It's not necessarily easy, but the learning about yourself, learning about this other person you love.
And their family.
Yeah, and exactly. And learning about the family that you're into and married into and get to share life with. I called this little mini series "Marriage is Messy," and I got a little grief from somebody used to say, "No, like marriage is beautiful." And yes, it's absolutely beautiful, but it's complicated, and yet there's kind of beauty in that mess, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you, Rob. Thank you, Aurea. Thank you, Brenda, for filling for Shane. And those of you listening, thank you for being with us. We'd love for you to continue the conversation, whether it's just leaving us a note, sending us an email. The best thing to do that would fill me up and really fulfill the reason we have this show is for you to have a conversation, whether it's your spouse, whether it's a friend, maybe just somebody you're doing life with, to say, I heard a podcast about this. You don't have to refer the podcast or even share the link, but have the conversation. Ask a neighbor or a spouse or a friend, what was it like for them, and keep the conversation going. So we'll move beyond marriage. That's not the point of this entire podcast. Just a little season as we look at what real life looks like in this calling. So have a great day, and we'll see you next week.
That's the end of the episode, but we want to continue the conversation. Continue the conversation by sharing this episode, subscribing, or leaving a review. Connect with us on Instagram at 2414podcast. Connect with us through email at 2414@stlukes-church.com. Or best of all, keep the conversation going by inviting someone to process with you, so that you can each walk away with more understanding that leads to more conversation as the journey continues. If you happen to be in the Seattle-Tacoma area of Washington, stop by on a Sunday morning and say hi. 2414 is a podcast produced by St. Luke's Lutheran Church in Federal Way, Washington. To find more content, discover upcoming opportunities to connect in person, or to support the show, head on over to stlukes-church.com. Thanks for walking with us.